Hey, Penguins fans, happy Wednesday, the day before training camp. Yes, training camp officially gets underway on the 22nd, the official last day of summer. Actually, well, the fall equinox is about 9 o'clock on Thursday night. So almost basically the last day of summer / the first day of fall. And that will officially mark 3 weeks until the start of the 2022-2023 NHL regular season. Of an action-packed episode for you all today. Going to go into what I'm looking for heading into camp, some of the storylines I'm going to be paying attention to. Also, we're going to get into some bold predictions for this season. That'll be the second segment. And then we're going to get into the top 10 NHL coach power rankings that the Locked On NHL hosts got to do. And yes, I did have a vote on it, and I can confirm that Mike Sullivan is fairly high on that list. So we'll go into that in the final segment, and then that will be today's show. So that's all coming right after this drop.
You're Locked On Penguins, your daily podcast on the Pittsburgh Penguins, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, welcome back to another episode of the Locked On Penguins podcast. I am your host, Hunter Hodes. We're going to follow me on Twitter at Hunter Hodes. You can also follow the show's Twitter, @LNRSPenguins. And of course, thank you all so much for making this your first listen of the day. So again, yes, less than 24 hours until camp. Actually, as I'm recording right now, 9:30 at night, 12 hours till the first practice. The first practice takes place at 9 a.m. tomorrow. Remember, this practice will be free and open to anyone that wants to go. All the practices are free and open to the public except the ones on game days. On the schedule for tomorrow, I believe Team 1 and Team 2 will have a practice on the two different rinks. Then they're going to scrimmage. I think Team 3 is going to practice. They'll have some conditioning and all that. I believe the day will end around, I think it's like 1:30 or something like that. So there will be a scrimmage tomorrow between Teams 1 and Team 2. I do not have the teams in front of me. I thought they were going to release them today. Usually they do. I guess they'll do it tomorrow right before camp starts. Probably like, 8:30. Something like that, or maybe at 9, right when it gets underway. But for those that are going tomorrow, if you are, let me know in the comments. You can send me a DM. And just tell me what you saw. Who looked good and all that stuff. Who looked bad. All that good jazz. But with camp now about to get underway, we'll just get into stuff that I'm looking forward to seeing this year. You definitely got to start with the new guys. How is Ty Smith going to perform? Just in a new system under Mike Sullivan. This is the player that I've talked about a lot over the offseason. I'm really intrigued about him. Had a really, really good rookie year with the New Jersey Devils a couple of years ago. Then had a really rough sophomore slump. I think part of that did have to do with him playing with Lindy Ruff's system, and the Devils were just a really bad team. That kind of hindered him. I really want to see what he can do, with Mike Sullivan, who runs, a more fast-paced system, caters to offense. And, for someone who is really good with the puck on his stick and has good foot speed, I think that can really benefit Ty a lot. I think what they're going to do, they're maybe going to sit him down, in the video room. Todd Reardon's going to go over some stuff with him. And I think in a perfect world, they would like him to win that number 3 left-hander spot on the bottom pairing. I think, in my opinion, that's who they want as a number 6. I mean, he's going to have to go out there and earn it. POJ is going to be going after it. Mark Friedman will be going after it. So, he's not just going to be given that spot. He's going to have some good practices. He's going to have some good scrimmages. He's going to have to play well in some of the preseason games, all that good stuff. But really intrigued about him. Curious to see who they pair him with in drills and scrimmages and all that. I would have to guess it's Jan Ruta, especially after he was paired with him during the scrimmage, even though it was very informal. But, we'll know for sure, once Mike Sullivan, starts to put some pairings together and all that stuff. Also, same with Jeff Petrie, really excited about having him here. He's probably the best right, second, I'm trying to say this right. The best two RHD, right-handed defenseman that this team has had in quite some time. Maybe since a prime 2017 Justin Schultz. But Petrie's a better player than Justin Schultz. It's not really close. Really excited to see how he fits Sullivan's system. He was great with Montreal last year. Year before that, he was getting some Norris Trophy consideration. When Marty St. Louis took over, he had 21 points in 23 games. And not 23 games, 30 games, excuse me. And, he kind of, found his stride again. So, I know he's a bit older, but he brings a lot of offense. He's still quick with the puck on his stick, still good in his own zone. Really excited to see how he fits the system, for sure. Of course, the 12th forward spot, I think that's going to be a big talking point coming into camp. I mean, it probably should be the biggest talking point. I know talked about Ty Smith and Jeff Petrie a little bit first, but that's really, one of the main roster competitions that this team has right now. Who's going to stand out? Is it going to be Ryan Poehling? Is it going to be Drew O'Connor? I was listening to, we're watching Penguins Lunch today with Nick Berlansky, who does Tip of the Iceberg, and, Doug Lackey, good friend, both are good friends of the show. And, they were both, they were both agreeing that they would like to see Drew O'Connor get that 12th forward spot over anyone else. And, I'm kind of, warming up to that as well. I would like to see how he does in camp. I think he's going to be given every opportunity to win that 12th forward spot, especially with how he played in camp and preseason last year. I mean, he did make the team just because, Sid and Gino were out to start the year. So that also helps. But, this year, that's not the case. Gino's fully healthy. Sid's ready to go. The team, basically everyone on the team is ready to go heading into camp. So it's going to be even tougher for him to get it. But I do think he's going to have every opportunity to make the team just because of, of the intrigue that he, showed early last season when he was actually putting the puck in the back of the net and, being responsible in his own zone and all that other stuff. So, is it going to be him, Poehling, obviously a former first-round pick, last season in Montreal, not the best, but, again, going to a new system, I think that the management staff is really interested in him. I think Mike Sullivan, he's not going to put him in the top 6 or probably even on the 3rd line. I think it would have to be on the 4th line. Josh Archibald, how's that going to be? Is he going to have a good camp? If he's bad, you can maybe just bury him in the minors. It's only $900K, something like that. Jake Kajula, he had a decent year in Buffalo last year. He's on a 2-way deal. Is he going to make play? And then also, of course, Radim Zohorna. He's on a 1-way. People forget, but Zohorna is on a 1-way deal this season. Remember, he signed a 2-year contract just a couple seasons ago. Last year was 2-way. This year's 1-way. So I believe he will need waivers to go down to Wilkes-Barre. Is he going to make a big push for that 12th forward spot? There's going to be a lot of competition for it. May the best player win. That's for sure. Obviously, I'm intrigued about the goaltending. I hope, Tristan Jarry does have a good camp, a good preseason, even though he's probably not going to be getting too many reps, at least game reps. And maybe he'll play like a period or two, but he's not going to play too many full games, if you ask me. So again, mainly just the new guys, especially the defenseman that they acquired. Also, I'll put Jan Ruta in there. Really curious to see how he does as well. And, mainly just, that 12th forward spot, who's going to come out and take it and take a run for their money there. So those are the main things I'm looking for at camp. I guess if you want to throw one more in, this is going to sound so stupid maybe to some of you all. I'll say it. I think Kasperi Kapanen needs to have a good camp. I know what you all are going to say, oh, well, he was so good in camp last year, great in the preseason, then stunk in the regular season. Yes, I know. I pumped his tires a good bit. I made myself look like a complete idiot. I totally get it. But I do think he needs to show that he can have another good camp, to show himself that, he has that confidence back and that he can be the player that he was, back in 2020, 2021, and even, back to 2018, 19. I'm really, going to have my eyes focused on him to see, is he going to struggle the way he did during the regular season and the playoffs last year in camp and preseason? Or is he going to go back to the way, that we saw him play, throughout his career at times where, he's actually able to stay consistent and, he's using his speed to his advantage and he's actually firing the puck on net and not, just coming into the zone and button hooking back and all that stuff. So I guess I'll add that, I'm definitely going to be paying attention to that in camp. But what about you? What are you all intrigued about as camp is getting underway, do any matchups interest you? Who would you have as that 12th forward? Defense, are you excited about the new guys? Do you like my take on Kapanen? Just whatever you have to add, you can add that in the YouTube comments, or you can just send me a message on any social media platform. Heck, you can request to follow me on Instagram for all I matter. I only post pictures of just my girlfriend and I, basically, so I don't really use it for anything else. Anyway, but before we get to our second segment, which is I almost just blanked on the second segment. Bold predictions for this season. Can't believe I almost just blanked on that. Let's get into Bet Online. It's your number one source for football betting info this season. You can find all the latest player developments, team matchups, news, podcasts, and in-depth articles and analysis on every game out there. And as always, Bet Online remains your continued source for all of your sports wagering information with live betting and up-to-the-minute scores for every sport out there. It's the fastest, easiest way to check in all of your favorite games and events, including MLB, MMA, boxing, and golf. You can head to Bet Online or use your phone to learn more. That is Bet Online, where the game starts. All right, I'm back here on this episode of the Locked On Penguins podcast. I am your host, Hunter Hodes. Remember to follow me on Twitter at Hunter Hodes. Follow the show's Twitter at Locked On Penguins. And of course, thank you all so much for making this your first listen of the day. So let's get into some fun bold predictions for the season. Been thinking about a few of them last few days. So after the sip of water, we're going to get into it. So my first one, I'm sure maybe someone else has this one. I'm not sure, but I'm going to say it. It's bold, but Jake Guentzel scoring 50 goals this year. He's going to do it. He's been really close twice throughout his career. He hit 40 last year. He's the only other Penguin in the Crosby-Malkin era to have hit 40 multiple times. There's been a few players that have hit it once. James Neal. I believe, did Chris Kunitz hit 40 once? Maybe like my memory is just, killing me. I don't even think Phil Kessel hit 40 when he was a Penguin, but Guentzel's done it twice. He is good enough to hit 50, and he's going to be playing a lot with Sidney Crosby if he stays healthy. I definitely think he can do it. He's one of the 5 best pure goal scorers in the NHL. His ability to, get to a soft area of the ice where he's basically just undetected and have the smallest amount of time and still fire it in the net, it's second to none. He is an elite talent in this league. He's not a product of Sidney Crosby. He's never been a product of Sidney Crosby. Just look what he was doing to the Rangers in the first round of the playoffs. Their fan base was basically having, nightmares about him, to say the least. So I do think he hits 50 this year. Maybe he's one of 3 or 4 players that does it. Maybe it's less than that. Maybe it's more. But Jake Guentzel is hitting 50 this year. Why not? My second bold prediction: fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me 3 times, well, you know the saying. I'm gonna say it though. I'm gonna be like the Brian Weinhorst meme here, where he's just like doing this, like with the fingers pointing up, and he's just looking up to the sky. Jason Zucker scoring 20 to 25 goals this year. Yep, I'm saying it. I'm going out there. I am standing on the head of our nice Jewish boy on this team. Jason is going to score 20 to 25 this year. He is going to stay healthy this season. I'm going to put my sword right on that. Maybe if I get hopefully I don't get Marc-Andre Fleury, when the sword's going into his back. Meme is just crazy. But he has the talent. He's that good. He just has to stay healthy. I really do think if he stops getting injured, he can easily be a 20 to 25 goal scorer on this team. He'll play with the right line mates in Evgeny Malkin and Rickard Rakell, 2 players that can get him the puck numerous times throughout the game, and he can use that excellent shot to his advantage to score. He's also great in front of the net. I don't think enough people talk about that. And also, he plays his tail off every single shift. When he was healthy last year, that it was very noticeable for the Penguins. And I know he wasn't healthy that often, but when he was, he was definitely playing well for the Penguins. And this is a contract year for him. If he does score 20 to 25, I do think he can recoup some of the money that, he would maybe get on that next deal, because if he's bad again and he gets hurt, he's not going to get anywhere, close to 5.5 million per on his next contract. But going to say it, 20 to 25 goals this year. Bank on it for Jason Zucker. So that's 2 bold predictions. Bold prediction number 3. Might be a little too bold, might not, but this is why, after all, that this is bold prediction segment. Tristan Jarry is going to be a Vezina finalist this season. I am really high on him going into this year. I think he has unfinished business for this team. He was playing at a Vezina level for a lot of last season. I know his numbers took a little bit of a dip, once, March came around, April and all that stuff. But, it also had to do with him just, playing so much beforehand, just because Casey DeSmith was stinking up the joint. He just, in the first half of the season, DeSmith was really freaking bad. So, I think if DeSmith is able to be on his game, he's back healthy now, and not look like, the first half version of how he played last year, and he looks more like the second half version, that he's going to be able to spell Jarry in some cases, and that's going to be able to, put his workload down a little bit, which A, obviously could not lead to injuries, and B, gets him more rest, which means, he's going to be more refreshed down the stretch into the playoffs, where he can hopefully be healthy for the Penguins. But, he was at 930 for a lot of the last season. Again, I know the numbers went down, but, he was still top 10 also in goals saved above expected for the entire season last year. He even got, I think, a couple of Vezina Trophy votes, and not like number 1 or number 2 or anything, but I think he got a couple 4th, 5th place votes from what I remember. So, some of the not the writers, because it's general managers, some of the general managers, they definitely noticed how good he was. And I do think with how good he was last year, and, this is a contract year for him, I think you're going to see him put it all together. And I think he's going to be a Vezina Trophy finalist at the end of this season. So that's 3 bold predictions right there for you all. Bold prediction number 4. Let's see here. I had a couple that I wanted to make sure I have. Okay. I would say this is a little bit bold. Sidney Crosby's going to score 100 points this year. He hasn't done it in the last little bit, but he's going to be fully healthy going into this season. Scoring is up around the league. I know he's in his mid-30s now, but I am more confident than ever in Sid, and I think he's going to have one heck of a year. And my final one, it involves Gino. I will say this. He's going to have 35 plus goals this year. 20 goals and half a season last year. Was playing still on a bum knee, was a point per game player. His skating looks like it's, better than it ever was. And his knee looks, to be in really good shape. He stays healthy this year, which, hopefully he does. He scores 35 plus goals for this team this year. He will be a top 2 to 3 goal scorer on this team. I would maybe even say he would finish second on the team in goals behind Jake Gensel. So those are my 5 bold predictions. I found my 5 main bold predictions for the Penguins this season. Let me know what you all think in the comments. You can also send me a DM. Do you think any of those have a chance of coming true? Which ones do you not think have any chance of coming true? Do you think I was crazy for some of them? Let me know. But those, at least those are mine for this regular season. So still a little more to get to for this episode of the Locked On Penguins podcast. Coming up in the final segment, we're going to get into the top 10 NHL coach power rankings that the Locked On NHL team came out with. And, I'm going to get into where Mike Sullivan is and if I agree with the spot that he landed in. So that's all coming up right after this commercial break. All right, I'm back in this episode of the Locked On Penguins podcast. I am your host, Hunter Hodes. Remember to follow me on Twitter at Hunter Hodes. You can also follow the show's Twitter, @Penguins. And of course, thank you all so much for making this your first listen of the day. So let's get into it here. So on Locked On Sports, so they tweeted out this week's power rankings. So we power rank different stuff, us, the hosts, throughout each week. And this week, it's the top 10 coaches heading into the season. And everyone had John Cooper was at number 1. That's fine. Daryl Sutter's at number 2. Okay. Jared Bednar's 3. Robin DeMore's 4. And then Mike Sullivan is at number 5. Me personally, I would have Mike Sullivan. I put him when I voted at number 2. I think it's him and Cooper at the top. Bednar, I obviously can see it because he just led the Avalanche to the Stanley Cup. He's also been a really good coach ever since he came into the league. Daryl Sutter, he also knows what he's doing. I can see that a little bit too. Brindamore, also really good coach, but I think Sullivan is a bit better than him. Cooper, though, I think he would have a little bit of an edge over Mike right now. But, I think for Sullivan, obviously he did get the respect that he deserves in this poll, finishing in the top 5. I mean, if you don't think he's a top 5 coach in this league, I think you're kind of nuts, to be honest with you all. But again, I have him as a top 3, at least a top 3 coach in this league. I had him at number 2. And then the rest of the list, Gerard Gallant was at 6. I didn't even have him in my top 10. Craig Berube at 7. Bruce Cassidy at 8. Bruce Boudreau at 9. Peter Laviolette at 10. I don't think Peter Laviolette's a top 10 coach. That's me speaking, though. I definitely think he's a little overrated. See, at least I would have had Bruce Cassidy at number 6. At least I would have him right behind Sullivan Berube. He's not bad. Maybe I'd have him a little bit lower. I would honestly move Boudreau up to maybe like that number 8 spot. And I would take Laviolette out and put someone else in. And then there were the odds actually to win the Jack Adams Trophy this upcoming season from BetOnline. The odds-on favorite is actually Jared Bednar at plus 700. Next up is Rod Brindamore at plus 900. Funny enough, Gerard Gallant has the next best odds, which I don't understand. John Cooper and Bruce Boudreau are next after that. And then Mike Sullivan has the next best odds after that at plus 2,000. Those odds are probably fine for Sullivan because the funny thing is, for some reason, he just does not get a lot of Jack Adams consideration. It's all because, he has Crosby and Malkin. They're expected to make the playoffs, but yet no one understands just how much, of a great job he does, especially when the team is so banged up every freaking season. The last 2 years, they've been top 5 in man games lost. Like, they won the East Division in 2021, 2022, when I believe they actually led the league in man games lost. So, and he still wasn't even nominated for the Jack Adams, by the way. Last season, they dealt with numerous COVID outbreaks, numerous injuries. They didn't even start the season with Crosby and Malkin. And, the Penguins were still kicking butt and taking names and beating teams left and right. And it's just like, wow, I'm sure this is all going to be forgotten when the big guns come back. And sure enough, it was. That's just the voting for this award needs to change. If it should, the name of it should be, which coach got the best goaltending for this year? In case you all can't tell, I get very heated about the Jack Adams Trophy Award. It actually should go to the true best coach and not someone who gets 935, 940 goaltending. So that's how I feel about it. Hopefully Sullivan does get more consideration this year, but I'm kind of not holding my breath too much on that. With that said, that will wrap up today's episode. So about, 23, 24-minute episode for you all today. I hope you all enjoyed listening to it, watching it. We made it. Penguins hockey is basically back. Training camp is in full steam. Well, it's about to be in full steam. Remember, 9 a.m. Eastern is the first practice tomorrow. I'm sure, a lot of you are going to be all over social media seeing what they're doing. I especially will be. I'll be retweeting some stuff and all that jazz. So, we've made it. Camp's here. Really excited to, get back to really talking Penguins hockey with you all. And before you know it, the regular season is going to get underway. And, and then the fun really begins. So, again, thank you all so much for listening. I really appreciate it. I'll be back with another episode for you all on Thursday.